When you fall in love with the business and like, this is the one that I have to have, you lose perspective on what you're buying and what you're doing. So falling in love just means that like, now I'm going to probably make a poor decision.
So Jonathan, tell me, if you're looking to purchase a business, acquire a business, give us a few tips.
Yeah, a few tips for looking at buying a business. I mean, the first thing you have to start with is kind of evaluating yourself, right? And understanding what your goals are and what you're looking for. So, and developing those parameters, because the universe is pretty large. So step one.
The universe is large.
The universe is large.
That's true.
And so step one is, kind of doing some introspection and figuring out what it is you're trying to accomplish. The second thing is...
And just to interrupt you, I would assume, and if you're married, your spouse needs to be 100% on board and involved in that conversation.
Bring your spouse into that conversation. Absolutely.
Yes. Okay.
Have her in. That could be tip 2. Probably should make that tip 1, but let's make that tip number 2, right?
Okay.
Having your spouse on alignment, first being your spouse, but also kind of a community to support you as well, right? Like having, bankers and brokers and people that are around you that can provide you sound advice. Mm-hmm. That can be hard. Don't ask Aunt Susie, or brother. Everybody will give you opinions on what you should be doing, and everybody has an opinion, but they don't have a very good understanding of this universe. So you need people who are well-versed in
the business universe.
Of the business universe, yeah. Right? So that would be those. 2 is knowing that it's going to take. So number 3, I would say be patient. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of time.
And it took you, for those 150 that you reviewed, how many?
18 months.
Wow.
Took a year and a half, and that was the story. But yeah, so it took 18 months.
Okay. So be patient.
It's going to be patient. Prepare yourself. So that that'd be 3. 4, just what's coming to mind is preparing yourself emotionally. It is a very emotional thing trying to go through this process, because one day you'll be like all excited and, everything's going great. And then like one little thing happens and now it's like the world's crashing and it's going, everybody talks about it's like riding a roller coaster, and It legitimately is. You're going to go up and you're going to go down, and these days are highs and lows. And so if you aren't mentally prepared to like handle and deal with that, it will be very hard to get through the process. Because if you can't handle the bad and kind of keep yourself up and kind of let the good down. So that'd be 4. 5, I would say, is don't fall in love with anything. That's when things go bad, right? When you fall in love with the business and like, this is the one that I have to have, you lose perspective on what you're buying and what you're doing. So falling in love just means that like, now I'm going to probably make a poor decision. And that was always what I felt like when I was trying to go through that, was like, am I making a good decision, or am I just excited about this thing? Right? When you talk about money and you start saying, oh, I'm going to make $300,000, like, it gets really like, it's going to be super easy. And like, it's just going to fall in. Like, that doesn't happen. Like, it takes work.
Yeah.
But you get kind of excited about different things. And then when something goes awry or goes wrong, goes back to that emotional. So like, not falling in love with any particular business is super important. Keeping multiple options open, right, is probably another tip that I would say. Is I always tried to have more than one thing on the line at a time. The reason being is then that kept me from loving the one thing. Yeah. Because now I was pursuing 2 to 3 at the same time, and I could kind of balance. I had 1 or 2 to kind of balance the one that I maybe liked a lot against, because then it'd be like, oh, well, this one has some employees, and I forgot that was one of my things, and I'm overlooking that just because I like A and B, right. And I'm overlooking C.
Right.
And this one has C really good, so it kind of reminds you. It's remember that you're casting a wide net at the beginning and not really doing the emotional
So, Jonathan, it sounds like when you are looking to purchase a business, to acquire a business, there's a lot that you need to think through and a lot of planning and a lot of time. It took you 18 months.
Yep.
You investigated thoroughly 150 businesses before you found the right one.
Yeah.
So, when you think about that, was there anything that really stood out to you when you finally landed on the right one? How did you know it was the right one?
I'll go back to my wife was on board. That was honestly how.
Was that the first one she was on board?
That was the one she was most excited about, which is how we've kind of got there.
Was that because of the type of business that it was?
Somewhat, yeah.
Okay.
There some of that.
On the numbers side, was there something that stood out to you, or was there like this is the right mixture of
it was
EBITDA and top line revenue and employees and infrastructure and.
Well, see, that was weird. So I have a scorecard, right, that I go through, and
You made a scorecard?
Yeah, through the acquisition. So how does it hit your different lines? And so it wasn't as big in revenue and like cash flow as I wanted. So I kind of gave up on that a little bit, but it did have some employees, and it was something that I felt like we could grow and expand.
Okay. So it's scalable.
It had that scalable, expandable piece that I liked. That was one. So I felt like I could grow it. I felt like it was expandable. Two is my wife was on board, right? So she was excited about it. She's also my business, so she operates the business with me. So so she needed to be on board with that. And then three is just the one that we were able to get across the finish line. So as you kind of keep taking one step after another, it's kind of like as we went down the journey, the pieces of the puzzle came together, right?
Yeah.
And that's some of that is how you know. I mean, it feels like, that was, where we haven't talked much about faith, but kind of God's provision in the process where you understand that where, hey, I may be looking for, we can pray and say, hey, God, tell me which business I should buy in that. But he doesn't come and talk to me and say, Jonathan, go and buy this business like they did in the Old Testament. So I feel like that direction comes from when the pieces kind of all line up and there's not something that like diverts me away. That's where we always say it's like, hey, I just keep taking the next step. And then if I run into a roadblock, I just assume that was a door closed.
Okay.
So that was three. It just it came together.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. Hey, please subscribe to The Lifeguard Show. We'd love for you to be a part of our community and make sure that you ring that bell so you can be notified of our next video release. And if you have any suggestions of content, please contact us through our website, thelifeguardshow.com, or you can leave us a comment in one of the videos on our YouTube channel.